Weathering With You is the latest film from director Makoto Shinkai, who is best known to anime fans for directing Your Name. As fans know, he often creates stories centered around lovers twisted by fate, or star-crossed lovers. And Weathering With You is no different to that rule. It's another romantic comedy with a fantasy twist, and that's fine. That's Shinkai's strength as a storyteller, especially as the film is an original work of his, rather than being based on a manga like most anime is. I've been a big fan of anime for years, from watching shows like Neon Genesis Evangelion and Full Metal Alchemist, to the works of Hayao Miyazaki and Mamoru Hosoda. And so I've been looking for an opportunity to include anime on the channel, and it just so happens that Makoto Shinkai has a new film out. I adored Your Name when it first released, instantly falling in love with those characters, and the way that the world and mythology were built up and developed into the characters' journeys. With Weathering With You, Shinkai uses that same methodology, once again adopting the use of Shinto mythology to create a fantasy scenario for our characters to be involved with. The film follows teenager Hodoka, who has run away to Tokyo, abandoning his life on a small island. Since he is still a teenager, he finds supporting himself in Tokyo very difficult, especially as the city has seen an unprecedented amount of rain in the past year. Traveling to Tokyo, Hodoka meets Keisuke, a writer who decides to hire and shelter Hodoka. As Hodoka tries to make a living in Tokyo, he meets a mysterious girl, Hina, who has the ability to control the weather. The pair eventually start to fall for each other as they learn the benefits and consequences of using this strange power. And that's the general idea of the story. You have to have a certain suspension of disbelief with a film like this, especially as there are moments that can get overwhelming or confusing. But one of the best things about Makoto Shinkai's work is that he puts the relationships and characters first, with the fantasy elements often taking a back seat, which is what can drag down a lot of other anime, where they're too focused on the world building and heaping exposition to the audience, which can often lose people and turn them off anime. Weathering With You does have some moments where it can get a little talky, particularly in the second half of the movie as the film dives into the mythology of the world, but before long we're usually back to another character building scene, of the characters helping the citizens of Tokyo, or doing small things, like giving a father a sunny day to spend with his daughter. And thankfully the characters are absolutely delightful, although it does take a little while to get introduced to them and get to understand who they are and their motivations. But once the movie opens up and starts exploring these characters, then they become incredibly endearing, and you fall for them despite the fantasy scenario that they're in. Shinkai often relies on montages with big and powerful J-pop songs to show his characters progressing, and Weathering With You definitely doubles down on that, which is fine. The songs are all fun and enjoyable, and they fit the characters and tone. Your Name had a little more restraint where this was concerned, but the montages are enjoyable enough without them really being a hassle. There are a lot of special little moments in Weathering With You that help you fall in love with these characters, even though they admittedly aren't the brightest characters in the world, often doing things like opening a window next to a basement that's clearly about to flood with water. These moments aren't too irritating as the overall experience with the characters is pretty engaging, but these moments are noticeable. One thing that absolutely has to be talked about is the animation, which is just jaw-droppingly gorgeous in some moments. The visuals in Your Name were stunning, but here there are some wonderful photoreal shots of Tokyo that in some scenes just feel like they've been taken straight from real life, not to mention some beautiful vistas of storms and scenery that are just bursting with color. If you have the opportunity to see the film on a big screen, I'd recommend going just for the visuals alone. Shinkai's work often features a blend of CGI, traditional animation, computer-generated lighting and environmental effects to make images that are obviously CGI look like they were hand-painted or hand-drawn, and Weathering With You is just the latest film that combines all of those tools into another gorgeous piece of art. Weathering With You often does fall into your usual anime teen melodrama, particularly in the third act, which if you're a fan of anime, that's not going to be a problem, but for people not familiar with anime, there are some scenes that might be a little over the top. Some of the mythology is also left a little bit ambiguous, so I imagine some people might wind up being a little bit lost. However, if you're familiar with movies like Spirited Away, and particularly Your Name, which both explore aspects of Shinto mythology, you'll probably have an easier time following along. Weathering With You is a movie that a lot of anime fans are going to compare to Your Name, but I think there's enough to differentiate the two. I do think Your Name is more tightly scripted and focused on the message that it's trying to convey, whereas here some things are left up to the audience to decide on, and so Your Name is probably a better choice if you're a newcomer to anime, or if you're unfamiliar with the director's work. The film is absolutely stunning, with an endearing environmental message and a beautiful group of characters that will likely pull at the heartstrings in a few scenes. If you're a fan of anime and Makoto Shinkai, I'd say run out to the nearest theater that's playing it, as the movie is absolutely worth catching on the big screen. If you're a newcomer to anime, I'd say check out Your Name first, and if you end up liking that, then give this a go, as both movies certainly have a similar feel and tone to them. Weathering With You is another beautiful piece from director Makoto Shinkai that shouldn't be missed. Weathering With You gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Guys, I hope you like this review. If you want to see more reviews just like this one, stay right here for your mono fix. Bye guys.